Tonight, we are joined by recent graduates and international students from institutions all across Canada and internationally from outside Canada. My name is Zora Lakani, and I will be moderating our session this evening. First, I have a few housekeeping items to go over with you. These are just all of the administrative and logistical topics that have to be covered to make sure everything goes smoothly this evening. Fingers crossed. All participants have been muted. You should be able to hear via your computer and device audio and don't need to use your video tonight. This session will be recorded, and we invite you to please use the Q&A function to ask questions directed to the current speakers. And of course, we invite you to please check out our website, www.devant.ca, and our events page for future workshops, and I will share that with you in the chat. Fantastic. So I am really excited to be with you this evening. As I mentioned, I'm Zora, and I am very excited to be moderating our session. Before I introduce our expert panel, let me tell you a little bit about myself and Devant and how we got here. So I work with Devant to assist international students to stay, work, and succeed in Canada. Before joining Devant, I worked internationally in India, Pakistan, Kenya, and Tajikistan. For several years, I worked with students that were preparing to go abroad to study, and I really understand how brave all of you are to come to this country and can understand your concerns, hopes, and aspirations too. So we're all really in this together. So this expert panel is being hosted by Devant to support you. Just want to briefly share our history with you. Academica Group has been around for over 20 years. They are the largest company providing research and consulting expertise to colleges and universities in Canada. They focus on student success, student recruitment, and career development. Academica started Devant because they saw the challenges and the opportunities that international students and recent graduates have when they are looking to establish successful careers in Canada. The word Devant in French quite literally means to be in front of. We believe that our services and support will bring you in front of the rest in your journey to stay, work, and succeed in Canada. As international students, we have seen the commitment, resilience, and adaptability you hold within you to be able to be in front of any challenges and circumstances you may experience when finding employment, especially during uncertain times. Devant is an organization tailored specifically to cater to international students with the expertise of over 60 years of combined experience working in higher education and career development. So Devant is entirely set up to provide assistance to international students like you. And really, Canada needs you. According to Canada's International Education Strategy, which is official government policy, by the way, cabinet ministers believe that international students are making significant economic contributions nationwide and are ideal candidates for permanent residency because you spark new ideas, strengthen innovation, and build people-to-people ties. All these soft skills that are crucial in your employment journey. So I am pleased to invite you to meet our panelists this evening. Of course, I've introduced myself. I'm Zora Lakani, and I'm the moderator. We have Tatiana Lazareva, who is a recruiter. We have Valerie Kucherenko, who is a consultant. And we have Chrissy Atchinson from CITT and Alicia Samano, a Celestica former international student. And so everyone, Alicia, Chrissy, Valerie, Tatiana, you can give us a nice wave so everyone can see you. Fantastic. And Tatiana, while you're here with us, hi Val. Tatiana, while you're here with us, Tatiana is our first panelist this evening. Tatiana is a supply chain and logistics coordinator, certified in production and inventory management. She worked in the field of supply chain and demand planning for 8 years, serving various industries, including retail, wholesale, consumer packaged goods. And Tatiana started her career in supply chain and logistics recruitment in 2017 because of her passion for people and firm belief that people could be happy at work. Such a, it seems like such a simple idea, but it's something that we don't often pursue, right? So it's a very good point. So in 2019, Tatiana launched Unicorn Experts, her own independent recruitment practice. Congratulations, Tatiana. So really excited to have Tatiana with us. You know, Tatiana, some of the things that would love to have you discuss with us is about marketing yourself in this space. What are some things that students should remember when presenting themselves to potential employers, either through their resume or through their cover letter, through interviews, or through their social media presence? And how perhaps are these students,
Mhm.
an advantage to the organizations they work with? So I'd love to hear your thoughts on that.
Thank you, Zora, for this great introduction. Yes, I'm a recruiter in supply chain and logistics right now, and I've been working with a lot of students simply because there is a need for workforce. There is need for people in supply chain and logistics. We are experiencing huge deficit, especially when it comes to entry-level positions. So I'm happy to speak about that. And of course, my belief that people can be happy at work is still valid. And of course, I do my best to ensure that matches that happen between employees and employers are close to perfect. So when it comes to students, I understand that most of them look at themselves from the perspective that they lack something. In fact, they lack real life hands-on experience, Canadian experience, or experience overall. And these thoughts, they tend to consume them fully, and they forget about their competitive advantages. And I can tell about those parameters that make students more suitable for certain positions than other candidates. The first one that I would say is that students, they are very motivated. They're eager to work. They are eager to work any shift as long as company needs them. So if you are flexible with your time, if you can work in the afternoon or night shift, or you can start early in the morning, I highly recommend mentioning that on your resume, that you are willing to work flexible hours. Another competitive advantage of students, of course, if you can guess, it's their interest in the job. They value the job itself more than the pay, because it's an opportunity for them to start building their professional portfolio. So I would say entry-level salaries may be around, it really depends on where you are geographically and which area of supply chain you pursue. But being flexible with your compensation, being flexible with your salary expectations will definitely increase your chances of getting the job. So as far as marketing, many students, they think that if they mention the college they attended and the name of the program, it's clear to the hiring managers what it is exactly that they studied. In fact, it's not that clear. And I highly recommend breaking down your course, breaking down your education into certain modules that will explain to the hiring managers what it is exactly that you studied. If you studied international trade, international business management, logistics, I recommend highlighting things like customs or Incoterms. And of course, you know better, I'm just a recruiter, but I'm giving you a hint. Because when I send someone without experience, but with education, oftentimes during the interview, they get theoretical questions. Hiring managers ask questions related to your studies. They may ask you about certain acronyms, methodologies, or the current situation. They want to understand if you follow the existing trends, because logistics and the way we manage logistics has drastically changed over COVID time. So I recommend you staying up to date researching your field. Go beyond Google. There are plenty of videos on YouTube. So of course, be resourceful and demonstrate your interest, not just in the company, but also in the niche. They want to see if you are truly interested and if you are truly passionate about your career. And I think being passionate about your field of interest, being flexible with time and pay, is a great combination to have. And of course, how you present that on the resume. If education is your core advantage, put it somewhere at the top. If your resume is 1 page, just on the top. If it's 2 pages, make sure it's on the first page. Make sure it's the first thing that stands out, and break it down into the courses that may be relatable to the job that you are applying. Focus on your technical skills. Mention your Excel skills. If you know big data management tools like Power BI, R, Tableau, make sure you address that. If your Excel can be described as advanced, you go beyond basic functions. You can do VBA, pivot tables, VLOOKUPs. Mention that, go into that detail. And of course, not every company is willing to hire students. Some companies have resources and time to train, others don't. So apply to as many jobs as you can. Based on my experience, I can tell that the bigger their team, the higher are the chances that they will be willing to train. The smaller the team, the probability of them giving you training is probably not there, because they need someone who can hit the ground running. So keep that in mind. Some companies simply do not have resources to train. Others do. Many hiring managers see advantage in hiring the students. So apply to at least 8-10 jobs every single day. And always assess your job search process. If you apply for positions, but you don't get invited to the interview, then something is wrong either with your resume or the type of jobs that you are applying to. If you get invited to the interview, but you don't make it to the final stage, then something needs to be adjusted in the way you go through the interview. So look at your process, be honest with yourself, assess your bottlenecks. And of course, networking is a huge part. Recommend your friends, be someone who can be described as recommendable. Be a good person. I mean, be a curious person. Reach out to professionals on LinkedIn, make connections, attend different events. You never know from which direction the job opportunity will come. But I can tell you that there's a huge hidden job market that exists, which can only be navigated through networking, through building connections. And, you want to be someone who will be recommended. I will highlight that. So be a good person, support each other. I know that you are in this situation where you're looking at each other as competitors. And I want to tell you that there is so much work. Everybody will have enough. There is no such thing as shortage of work, but you can lose your friends forever. So, stick to each other, support each other. If you found out about certain opportunity which you are not a fit for, but you know that your friend may be, it's a good thing to recommend your friend. So look around, be friends, and you will never regret it, because life is long and you will meet each other again and again in the future. And it's good to have solid network of those who went together through the hard times. So I'm proud of being invited as a panelist. I know that there's only so much we can share with the time that's allocated, but of course there are certain constraints which I wanted to research before starting application for jobs. I know that there are certain NOC, NOC, B, like different criteria, different regulations and constraints that you need to keep in mind. So definitely read detailed job descriptions, be clear about your availability. If you don't have full-time work permit, it may be premature to promise your availability to potential employers. Be very clear about your rights and your abilities as a potential employee, because the specifics of today's hiring process is that it is a very short process. In many cases, we are looking at one step, one interview hiring process. So be clear about your timelines upfront. If you cannot start working full-time, let's say until first week of June, be clear about that. If you have any other constraints, or if you have travel plans, also be honest about your plans. And of course, I mean, that's it from me. I want to wish you good luck, all the best, and don't forget to ask as many questions as you can during your interviews, because you want to be fully equipped when making that final decision. So.
Thank you so much, Tatiana. I was taking lots of notes while you were speaking and shared that in the chat. So I hope folks, you're able to copy and paste it in your notes, or do as you please. But it's very something that I'm hoping can be useful, because Tatiana, that advice was fantastic, and I'm looking forward to also sharing that, about being a good person to start. And when you are a good person, then you can be a more recommendable person. And I think that's how we learn about opportunities, grow opportunities, and find ways to support one another in this space. So such fantastic advice. I will invite you to check out the chat, Tatiana, because there's folks who are talking to you and perhaps have seen you in other spaces. So thank you so much, Tatiana, for that insightful and human advice. I loved it. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Now we have Valerie. Valerie, welcome. So good to see you, Val, again. So Val, folks, is a commercially minded international sales, marketing, and supply chain professional focused on achieving excellence and strengthening the competitive edge. Val is highly experienced at different levels of maritime transportation and supply chain industries, and specializes with both broad knowledge gained in leading Fortune and has a broad knowledge gained through leading Fortune 150 CPG companies. So 13 years of diversified experience with a record of accomplishment in designing new strategies and driving change initiatives that resulted in major improvements. So that's fantastic. Val also has a strong knowledge of local markets in North America, Europe, and Russia, holding various positions in all three regions. So Val, welcome. So excited to have you. And I'm glad you've added the letters behind your name so folks can see what kinds of certifications and education you have pursued in your journey in this space. So when thinking about supply chain, again, as Tatiana mentioned, it's a huge field. Can you provide perhaps some insight on the types of jobs graduates would apply for, like what kind of skills they need for success in the supply chain market in Canada, and essentially best practices for our participants today?
Yeah, absolutely. And thank you very much, Zora, for introduction. That was flattering. First of all, thank you, everyone, for joining the call today. I know you have probably more questions than we have answers, but I will try to use this time allotted wisely and give you as much information as I can, and in a way that is kind of understandable. So first of all, I would like to let you know that I came to Canada a little bit more than 6 years ago, and I was pretty much in your shoes, trying to fill those shoes in a new country. So essentially, I had to start from scratch. It actually applies to Tatiana as well, because we both came from overseas to Canada. So at some point in time, we felt exactly the same what you're feeling today. I remember I was joining numerous calls, trying to reach out to different people from my network, trying to learn as much as I could at that time. Because you're walking into unknown territory. You kind of know where you're moving, but you don't know what exactly it's going to be out there. You don't have the the map. You don't have the blueprint. There's nothing out there. You're just trying to map it out yourself, and it's kind of exciting and challenging. Believe me, I feel you. Sometimes it was really challenging. But what actually helped me, and I will probably give that as some sort of a advice based on my experience and share my experience with you so you can use that and maybe apply it to a certain extent based on your situation, is that from the very beginning, I established certain kind of bullet points or goals that I would like to achieve in Canada. And they were kind of overarching and broad. So it wasn't like really straight to the point and like really narrow. It was like, I would like to establish myself as a professional. I would like to get back to the level where I used to be before moving to Canada, because you have to be upfront with yourself. Is that coming to a new country requires a lot of efforts, and it's challenging to get back or even start from the very beginning without having this magical Canadian experience that comes with time. And believe me, it takes time. So first of all, I kind of established that as sort of clear overarching goals. I want to establish myself as a professional here in Canada. I want to become part of the professional network, and CITT was actually a really helpful tool, because I joined CITT pretty much from the very beginning, and I started my CCLP designation second year as I was in Canada, and that actually helped me to broaden my network, and that helped me to kind of stay on course, so to say, and stay in this swimming lane. So from a skills perspective, I would say that we're all familiar with transferable skills, hardcore skills, and soft skills. The hard skills, this is something that you gained over the course of your education and experience, if you have any. It can be as simple as Excel knowledge or computer skills, or some specific supply chain knowledge, such as I don't know, the Incoterms, as an example. Or if you work in an international field, you know how the ocean shipping works, or the air freight works. This is definitely crucial to have, as Tatiana mentioned, on your resume, and make sure that it's all clear. But there's another part related to skills, which is more of on the soft side skills. And I would say it's, if not less, I would say actually it's more important when it comes to especially newcomers and the students, because you're essentially trying to start from scratch, is that's your ability to get things done, to be flexible, to be adaptive to different situations. Because when you come into a new country, you have to kind of establish yourself from scratch, and that will require a lot of flexibility. And having that ability and desire to go towards your goal and be flexible, and be willing to solve problems, to apply analytical skills, that's something that will be crucial in achieving your goals. And whatever your goal is just establish yourself here professionally, or just enjoy life and work, in supply chain, whatever that might be. The crucial part is that you have to look at this picture comprehensively. And the skills that you will be applying will not be only technical skills. Your ability to network with people is an example. That will be a skill that you have to apply, and you will have to really use on a daily basis. A good example might be, as I was networking and trying to establish myself, I had to reach out to a lot of people from my second level network, the people that I've never met before, that I was recommended to, or I met online, and that was challenging, right? Like, you call somebody or reach out over LinkedIn, it's kind of uncomfortable. You don't know how to behave yourself, but that ability and desire to go and be flexible, and and go, or across the city to meet with somebody for like 20 minutes for a coffee, that's something that will drive your success. And this is the skill that I'm referring to. This is the skill that might not be on the surface, and you kind of tend to not to focus on them, because we all live in a world of professional skills, right? But this skill that will actually help you to establish yourself. And I think this is crucial, just to keep it in mind and not focus only on something that we're all familiar with, like, the computer knowledge, the knowledge and in your field of supply chain. Those soft skills will actually help you establish yourself here in Canada very much. And I would like to kind of underline this. From the best practices, and I'm kind of transitioning from the skills to best practices, I kind of touched upon this, but in real estate they have this well-known slogan, location, location, location. When it comes to establishing yourself here in Canada, there's another one that I probably came up myself, networking, networking, and networking again. Like, you got to understand that work in Canada, and Tatiana mentioned, and you will learn it yourself, is that there's a hidden market, and there's a lot of jobs that are not being posted online. You will probably never come across them by searching different companies' websites. But if you know somebody who can refer you to somebody, that's usually the way you can get a job, your first job. So I would suggest instead of just going and applying online, which is definitely a way to do, start networking. And networking is simple as just reaching out to your network that you have already today and ask them the simple question. I'm looking for a job. I'm new in Canada. I would like your support. Can you help me? Do you know somebody who's hiring? Can you refer me to somebody? And you will be surprised how much help you will get by just asking that open question. Because somebody will reach out to you and say, you know what, I know somebody. Let me talk to them or that person and get you connected. It is simple but really powerful question that helped me to find my first job in Canada. Because believe it or not, I found it through the person who used to work with me back in Eastern Europe, who was originally from India, who knew somebody in Canada who helped me find the first job. So just by looking at the map, I'm sitting in Eastern Europe, somebody sitting in India helping me to find a job in Canada. It's mind-blowing, but that's how the network works. So my best practice advice would be start networking, reaching out to your existing network and start expanding the network. So the logical question might be like, how do I expand my network? Like, I'm new in Canada, or I'm a recent graduate. I don't have many, professional colleagues in supply chain. The simple answer would be join the professional network like CITT. They have a bunch of events. The CITT Toronto Council have a live in-person event next Tuesday. You can join that one. And there's many other events. So once you get it on the schedule of joining these events, you will see how your network will start expanding. And that's a simple way to start, to learn the network, to get to know people. That's one of the, ways that works pretty well. And it worked in my case because I was attending like crazy for the first 3 months, all the events that I could. And that helped me a lot. I would say this is another best practice that I would put in place for you to find a job, because don't try to focus just on the skills or applying online, which definitely you have to, but try to go a little bit broader and kind of, cast that net wider by using different tools, because you never know where you're going to find a job. If you're lucky, yes, you will apply and you will find a job next day, but usually it's not the way it works. Usually it comes the way that you couldn't even expect. Somebody, from your network refers to somebody. So that'll be my suggestion. Start networking, reach out to your existing network, your colleagues, your professional or your university network. Ask the simple questions, and you will see that network will come back to you. And CITT, that's one of the options that I mentioned. I would definitely recommend that. Consider CCLP as a designation. That's definitely will help you to open up new opportunities and expand the network. And join the live events. Thanks God, we kind of behind this COVID, and there are more opportunities to meet people in person. I would definitely encourage you to use that opportunity and join those events, because that's one of the best options to get to know people. Other than that, I don't have any other comments, but I will be more than happy to answer your questions, and I will join that chat. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Val. I've put in some of my notes from your conversation in the chat. I think I love that. We so often we're talking about real estate, location. Yes, so much about finding work, not just in Canada but elsewhere. Like today, the language is around networking. I love that. I think I will definitely take that forward. Very practical and supportive insights there. Thank you so much, Val. And I know folks will be sharing their thoughts in the Q&A for you. Really, I think there's so much to be learned as well. So thank you, Val. Alicia, welcome.
Hi.
Hi. Alicia Somano is a certified logistics professional with more than 9 years of experience in the supply chain and logistics field. Her background includes procurement, customer service, and logistics in multinational companies. Alicia came to Canada as an international student to study a postgraduate degree for supply chain management and logistics processes focused on the Canadian market, and she has now chosen Canada as her permanent residence. So welcome. So Alicia also is currently working as a logistics administrator at Celestica. Uh, you know, I think this is a treat for everyone. Alicia, Val, Tatiana have all three of you have moved to Canada and are great resources for the folks on this call to kind of touch base and understand and know that there is success opportunities for success for them. So it's so great to see you here with us, Alicia. Um, so Alicia, can you please share your point of view and experience of being an international student coming to Canada? Like, what are some things that you could have maybe done differently, or some helpful advice, perhaps, that you can share with students and recent graduates on the call?
Yes, of course, and thank you so much for the introduction. So as explained, I also came to Canada as an international student. So I definitely identify with some of the struggles you are going through. And I do have some advice that I would like to share with you. So one will be to get an administrative part job while being a student. So all of you know that as an international student, you are allowed to work part-time, right? And I know that we all came to Canada under different circumstances, and sometimes you need to get a survival job, and that is totally fine. But if you have the opportunity to actually get a part-time job, which is administrative, and if it's in the supply chain field, that would be amazing. But even if it's not in the supply chain, getting an administrative part-time job will also help you to start working and developing that Canadian experience that you know that it's demanded by some employers. And also it will help you to have like a general overview of the Canadian work culture. So that's one of the first advice that I would like to give to you. Get an if you can get an administrative part job, it will help you build your resume as well in Canada. So that's a good advice that I have for you. Another advice that I have is, and I know that you're tired of hearing that, again, networking. So I can tell you that, for example, in my experience, right, back home, we are not used to do networking. So of course, when you come to Canada and you start hearing everyone saying networking and networking, at first it can be shocking, right? Because you have to go out of your comfort zone and reach out to professionals that you don't know. But it's actually much needed in Canada. For example, you can start by your own community. By your own community, I mean maybe reach out to professionals that come from the same country as you, because maybe you are more comfortable to speak with some professional in your same language, right? If while you get more comfortable while establishing Canada, and also reach out to associations like Valerie mentioned, CITT. I'm also a certified logistics professional from the CITT, and that has been really helpful. Like in my experience, I actually got the job that I'm working on. It was a job posting shared by the CITT to the career coordinator at the college that I was studying at. So I was able to get that job through the networking via CITT. And again, in the company that I'm working at, we have also hired 3 recent graduates that also got their CITT certification. So definitely, if you can get your networking with an association, will also be good. And another experience that I would like to share with you is that your personal network as can be helpful as well. For example, I was able to refer one friend, and she's now my coworker, right? And I know that between my friends, they have also referred each other. And it also aligns with what Tatiana was saying, right? That being a good human being, it's really satisfying and rewarding knowing that you can have a positive impact in someone else. Another advice that I would like to give you is reach out to professionals in the field. It's kind of aligned with networking, but don't be shy. You will be surprised how many of us went through the same path that all of you are going through. So reach out to professionals in the field or to any other professional that you might feel related to. Ask for advices, ask for any support they can give you, and it's always good to be grateful to and share with others. So that's another advice. And I also, another advice that I would like to give to you is know your competitive advantages and use them in your favor, right? For example, my native language is Spanish. So I know that being in the CUSMA or former NAFTA region is actually an advantage that I had in my favor, right? Because I was looking for a job for which Spanish was an asset. And it actually worked out because in my current job, I actually deal with companies that are based in Mexico. So it's actually a win-win for both of us. So know your competitive advantage and use that in your favor. And finally, the last advice that I would like to give to you is please value your previous job experience. Some of you, when you come to Canada, you think that whatever job you used to do back home is not worth it here. But believe me, it is. As it has been mentioned, all the transferable skills it doesn't matter where you are. So those can be transferred to your job, to any activities in Canada. So please really value your previous job experiences. And I think that's all for me for the moment. Thank you so much for your attention. And if I can help you in something, please feel free reach out to me. Thank you.
Alicia, thank you so much. I think you really hit home on so many points. I mean, for me, even I was already thinking I had previously heard about folks who had decided not to include their previous experiences on their resumes because they didn't feel like it was valued, or that, you know, oftentimes employers are saying, or they think that employers are looking for Canadian experience only. And you're right to say that no, like all of your experience is valued, and the transferable skills that you bring to the table really go a long way. I think that's such a key point to add on, and I love that, because I think it is part of the competitive advantage we bring to the table. There's folks who not just through language but through experiences and those transferable skills. So I think that's a great point. So thank you, Alicia. Thanks for sharing your story and your experiences. Really happy to have you here with us today. And folks, if you have questions for Alicia, please do share them in the Q&A function so that she can answer them directly. Next, I'd like to invite Chrissy. Chrissy, welcome.
Hello.
Hi, so Chrissy Atchison is the director at CITT to talk a little bit about the association. So Chrissy, what is the CITT, and what should, you know, Val has mentioned it, Alicia has mentioned it, so it is a huge player in this field of supply chain. Can you tell us a little bit about how we can perhaps tap into the association, and a little bit about how we can perhaps use our competitive advantage in this space to be able to get opportunities and grow?
Absolutely. So a little bit of background on CITT. We've been around since 1958, which is the reason why our acronym doesn't really make sense. So we say we're Canada's Logistics Association because that describes what we do. When we were founded in 1958, we were the Canadian Industry of Traffic and Transportation because that was how logistics was described at the time. And for most of our history, we have been here to offer professional education and community for individuals who are working in logistics. Now, up until very recently, we had one very specific way that we did this. We offered our program of courses towards the CCLP designation, and you could come to us, take those courses, become a CITT certified logistics professional, and then enjoy also being a member of the association. And we were kind of a closed community in that way. We did have events and activities that anyone could come and participate in, but we were a little closed off from inviting everyone to join us who wasn't quite ready at a point in their career to go through that whole process of becoming a certified logistics professional. And we recognized that. And so over the last couple of years, what we have done is opened up our community to welcome people at all stages of their careers, whether or not they're ready to really go for a full professional designation. And I mean, as you've heard from all of the experts on this panel today, networking is such a key part of success for a career in Canada, and networking is really at the heart of what CITT offers. And so what we have available now is the opportunity to join CITT, join Canada's logistics community, as we call it, as an affiliate, and start attending events and participating in online networking and in-person networking right away, even while you're still a student. And so we knew that, you know, our full package was going to be unaffordable for people who are still in school or have just graduated. And so now you can actually come and join CITT as a student affiliate. And that is an opportunity we're making available to current full-time students and those who've just graduated for $25 a year. And just for comparison, for professionals, it's $450 a year. So what we're really trying to do is just remove that barrier and get students involved right out of the gate, because you know, historically there were no schools offering logistics and supply chain related programs. When we were started in 1958, you went to university to become an accountant, to become a lawyer. You didn't go to university to become a supply chain professional. No one really even knew that supply chain was a profession. I mean, it's always been there in the background, moving the economy and powering pretty much any business that deals with either raw materials or finished products. But no one really thought about it as a career choice or a professional pathway. Nowadays, the whole world has changed. I mean, certainly since the pandemic, everyone knows what the supply chain is and what happens when it doesn't function properly. But even before that, you know, companies like Amazon started making supply chain part of their business strategy rather than just thinking of it as an operational cost center. And so now there's schools in every country and certainly across Canada offering a wide variety of education in this subject. And so we know that you don't necessarily need to come to CITT to learn about logistics. And so why would we create a barrier for you to come join this professional network? And so if anyone's interested in earning the CCLP designation, I certainly encourage that. It's a great way to show that you've gained not only expertise in logistics in general, but also our program dives deep into the Canadian side of things. So if you've practiced logistics in other countries and you need to learn about the things that are specific to Canada, you can gain that through the CCLP designation. But if you're not at the moment in time when you're ready to take on more education, when you're looking to, you know, take on a challenge exam, then I really highly encourage you to just come join us as an affiliate right away. And, you know, depending on what province you're in, what city you're in, we do have local groups all across the country who are starting to have in-person events again and who've also been hosting webinars and events online. We've got groups in Vancouver, in a couple of different cities in Alberta. We're very active in Winnipeg, Manitoba, and in Saskatchewan. And we also have a conference coming up in Montreal in June. So if anyone has any questions, I did put the link to our website up here. Strongly encourage you to follow us on LinkedIn. We're pretty active in sharing information about upcoming events. We share job postings, we share links to webinars, and you can also contact and connect with me directly. I'd be happy to answer any follow-up questions you have after this session. And I also put the information for my colleague, Maria Merjani, up because she is our senior manager in charge of our program and academic relationships. So if you're looking to join us as a student affiliate, she would be the one that you would contact to, if you have any questions at all about that process or how it works.
Sorry, I was putting in information. in the chat on how folks can join in as student affiliates. It's such a great opportunity. Did you want to speak more to this slide, or
I've probably touched on most of what's covered there. That's just sort of a recap of, when you join a professional association, these are the types of benefits that you have access to. And certainly if you join CITT as a student affiliate, we have lots of online opportunities. We do webinars. I think the past month we've had about one a week on different topics related to logistics. Some of them are sort of more soft skills and general career. Others are, digging deep. We have, I think, one coming up. Actually, it might have been today. We had one about Incoterms. We have one coming up about what's going on within Canada and what they call the free on board, which I guess is similar to Incoterms. So, all of that is part of the package. Being invited to events like the one Valerie mentioned that's happening in Toronto next week. I recently learned the term from a friend of mine who works in HR, community of practice. That concept that, there's your network, there's your people you work with at your own company, but the community of practice, and I think it was really relevant to HR professionals because a lot of them are isolated, like you might be the only person at your company who works in HR. So how do you connect with the network of people who are experts on the same problems you're facing and who can give you good professional advice? And that's that community of practice that spreads across all professions. And so, same thing with logistics professionals. You might work at a grocery store and be the logistics manager and not work with a lot of other logistics professionals. And so, having access to that community of practice can be so valuable, and it doesn't necessarily happen organically. So.
Absolutely. I realized I wasn't on mute, and I don't know if you could hear me typing, but I love the community practice idea because that's something that I also am a part of with folks in our field. So it is a really helpful community, to be a part of and to, share. And so I know folks on the call have already shared that they want to develop a network amongst themselves as well to be able to share thoughts and resources. Thank you so much, Chrissy, for all this really reliable information. I am going to leave this slide on for another second for folks to quickly take an opportunity to take a photo or a screenshot, because it has all the information that they might need for the rates and what enrollment might include in joining the CITT and in Canada's logistics community. So there's your second, folks. I'm going to change the slide. Thank you so much again, Chrissy. And I invite the rest of the panelists to join us as we go through some of the Q&A questions. Great.
Zora, you're on mute.
It has to happen once, right? Yeah, thank you so much for letting me know. I was just saying I wanted to ask the first question to Chrissy, if there's any, if the CITT also includes procurement, and are there any CITT membership opportunities for teachers or academics?
So to answer the first part of that question, we aren't focused on the procurement side of supply chain. We really are focused on the transportation and logistics side. So where we touch on procurement would be more along the lines of procurement of transportation and logistics services. If you're interested really in dealing with the procurement side of Supply Chain Canada is an organization that has a lot of content related to that.
Great. Thank you so much. My next question is for Val. Val, what is the scope of SCM in the next 10 to 15 years in Canada?
That's a really good question. I don't know if there is a wrong or right answer, but I would say that what I've witnessed over the course of last 2 years is that supply chain has been going from big to small in a way that the online, the last mile delivery and the white glove services have been growing exponentially over the last 2 years. So if we look at the supply chain now, it's pretty much everywhere. Like you go online, you buy something, it's supply chain. You go to Walmart, it's supply chain. You go online, to Walmart and you buy something, it's supply chain because it's delivered to your home. So I would say supply chain is gonna go pretty much and touch every aspect of our life because we go more online. And the interesting part is that the more you go online, the more supply chain come into your life because everything has to be delivered and somehow managed throughout, the process of producing goods to delivering them to your house. So I think if you look at the supply chain 10 years from now, you would be surprised how much that will be a part of everyday's life. And today we're kind of still surprised that supply chain is kind of in the news, from aspect of challenges and disruptions. But 10 years from now, I think supply chain will be part of healthcare or financial sector. It'll be part of our everyday life because it's kind of hard to go by without having supply chain in your life.
Absolutely. This question is for Tatiana from a student. They were saying, my major is in mechanical engineering and I've already worked in this field for a few years. So would it be a wise decision to pursue my career in supply chain management after that?
Thank you, Zora. Well, following what Valerie just said is that supply chain will be and is everywhere. So definitely there is no shortage of work. If you are passionate about supply chain, if you can clearly articulate why you want to be in supply chain, if you can network, because when you don't have experience, when you sort of not good on paper, networking is your go-to resource to make sure people are aware of your communication skills. They know why you want to grow in supply chain. And to give you a little bit of my personal background, this is the transition I made in the past. I studied 6 years in the university, and I'm an engineer myself. So I'm an electronic designer, integrated circuit designer. Yes, I have engineering degree, and I started my career in supply chain right after graduation because of my analytical skills, soft skills. Probably I was able to go through interview, and that happened in Moscow, and they were screening for English, and English was my competitive advantage. Again, remember about your competitive advantage. It could very well be your language. And so it's a great transition. I'm not 100% sure, but I think about 40 or 50% of supply chain professionals have engineering background. It's a great background to have because when you study engineering, your brain gets wired in a certain way that eventually you will find helpful when dealing with unpredictable, stressful situations. You can cool down and look for solution. So.
Absolutely. Wow. Yeah, I didn't know that was your background, but it's good to know there's a lot of transition there. So for Chrissy, which are the best cities as well as provinces to work in the supply chain industry?
So that's a really interesting question because supply chain, as I kind of mentioned, because it cuts across all of the different sectors, there are exciting, well compensated roles in supply chain right across Canada, but every region sort of has its own flavor, and so let's just go west to east. If you're starting in BC, you're in a port province. So we've got so much of the product that comes in from Asia coming in through the port of Vancouver and through the port of Prince Rupert. So there's a lot of jobs related to that. Plus, that's a province that's very rich in, agriculture and in the lumber industry. So again, on the sort of shipper side, there's lots of roles related to that. And then as you move across the country, there's the oil and gas industry, there's agriculture, mining and minerals. All of these industries have a huge supply chain and logistics component, which translates to jobs. As you get more central, you kind of get into the region where the head offices of a lot of companies are, a lot of, shipper side, retail, e-commerce, grocery type roles, but also the service providers in logistics. You have people working for the railroads. You have people working for road transportation providers, big warehousing and distribution centers, air cargo, and then heading on further to the east, obviously you have the Atlantic provinces, and now you have ports again, and all the materials that are coming in from Europe and Africa. So, really anywhere in this country, you'll find great opportunities to work in a supply chain or logistics role. And then it just becomes a question of, are you looking to start building your career on the shipper side, companies that use logistics service providers? Are you looking to work more on the logistics provider side, or maybe something kind of in between, being a third-party logistics where you don't necessarily have assets like trucks and trains, but you help coordinate that for companies that do. So yeah, there's no wrong answer if you want to work in logistics in Canada. I have heard that certainly in the West in particular, like in Alberta and the Prairie provinces, there's definitely a labor market issue where they're constantly looking for more people than there's more jobs than there are people to fill them. But I think Tatiana could probably tell you that nowadays that's pretty much the issue everywhere. It's a different job market than I've ever seen before in my career. So it's a great time to be thinking about what you really want to do, because there's jobs everywhere.
And speaking of jobs being everywhere in the supply chain management field, Alicia, what are the pros and cons to some of these jobs?
So actually, I think that all the supply chain is affected by everything that's going on in the economy. And for example, like now that we are living in unprecedented times, the pandemic has actually brought up so many challenges throughout all the supply chain. For example, in regards to the procurement and sourcing processes, the lack of raw materials and components needed to manufacture the end goods has had a great impact by increasing cost and longer lead times. And this is also being affected by the boom of e-commerce. And I was once told by a supply chain professional that there will always be need for logistics services, regardless of how the economy is, right? So if the economy is in a better position, there will be more need for logistics services. And also, since also the pandemic has bring to our attention that the market nowadays is being driven by shortages of containers, manpower issues, blank sailings, and port congestions, and all these impacts are also affecting the end. We as the end users are also being affected by that, right? So I can tell you that nowadays, it's definitely a good time to get a job in the supply chain field, and also to build and grow a career in this field. And oh, sorry. And that it's actually pretty fun times to work in the supply chain and logistics. And I'm working in logistics, so I really enjoy it. And there's a lot of work.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Alicia, for that response and for giving us like a wonderful conclusion to the Q&A session. I also want to say huge thanks to folks who are here. Wanted to quickly put onto the slide upcoming live events, which were also shared in the chat. And you'll see an evaluation has been shared on your screen. So we'd love to hear from you. And so our upcoming events, you'll see Wednesday, May 11th, workshop on revamping your resume. May 18th, Devant Career Cafe, which was mentioned in the chat as well. And I think folks can use that as a way to network within their career spaces. Wednesday, May 25th, workshop on finding your passion. And Wednesday, June 1st, another expert panel on careers in management and technical consulting. So thank you, everyone, for being here with us today. We're really looking forward to hearing your feedback. I wanted to, as mentioned, we have shared an evaluation so that you can fill out that very short evaluation, and that will help us learn a little bit more on how we can support you and and how we can make these types of events better for you. I would like to thank our expert panelists for their timely and relatable insights. I would like to thank Devant for hosting this and upcoming panels and sessions for international students. And most importantly, I'd like to thank all of you for taking the time out to join us this evening and investing in yourselves. We look forward to continuing the conversation through our newsletter, Your Devant Insider, where you can go to check out ongoing tips and advice. We would love for you to check us out on the social media platforms and stay connected. And we offer one-on-one coaching sessions through our website, so you can check those out too. Again, please share any feedback and questions with us at info@devant.ca and share widely with your network using your social media platforms. Thanks everyone and take care. Have a great evening.
Thank you.